Hello everyone, welcome back to Math 1314, more on Math Chapter 4, Section 4, Solutions. So for the first one, first question, it says find the polynomial function of degree 3 with real coefficients that have the given zeros. Remember, degree means number of solutions, which we have 3 because it's degree 3. And it also means that the degree 3 means we have 3 x-intercepts. So for number 1, we know our zeros are -2, 3, and -5. They're also x-intercepts, so x equals -2, x equals 3, and x equals -5. So once we have them this way, we have to make them all equal 0. So we move the number to the other side, so we have x plus 2 equals 0. The next one we subtract 3 from both sides. X minus 3 equals 0, and we add 5 to both sides. So x plus 5 is equal to 0. So we start off with our x-intercepts, set them equal to 0. Since they equal 0, remember in section 1, we learned if it equals 0, that means it's a solution. So that's a solution. And if they're solutions, they're factors. So that's our polynomial in factored form. So now we multiply it out. X times x is x squared. Just only doing 2 of them. Positive times negative is negative. X times 3 is 3x. Positive times positive is positive. 2 times x is 2x. Positive times negative is negative. 2 times 3 is 6. And bring down the one we didn't use. Combine like terms. We have x squared. -3 plus 2 is -1. And then bring down the one we didn't use. Again, our objective is to get rid of all the parentheses. We got rid of these first two. Now we get rid of these. X squared times x. Positive times positive is positive. X squared times x to the first is x to the third. Remember, you add the exponents. 2 plus 1 is 3. That's the first one. Positive times positive is positive. X squared times 5 is 5x squared. That's right here. So that does it for the first term. Now the next one. Negative times positive is negative. X times x is x squared. Negative times positive is negative. X times 5 is 5x. So that does it for that one. Negative times positive is negative. 6 times x is 6x. Negative times positive is negative. 6 times 5 is 30. Since we got rid of parentheses, combine like terms. There's 2 sets. Our final answer. 5 minus 1 is positive 4, because 5 is bigger than 1. They're both negative, so the answer is negative. 6 plus 5 is 11. So there's our polynomial. This is the polynomial from these zeros. So what the first question is looking for is the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared is plus 4, x squared. And that's what we have. That's all we're looking for. All right, let's look at the next one. Write a polynomial function in standard form with real coefficients whose zeros include 2, 2i, and negative 2i. So our zeros are 2, 2i, and negative 2i. Remember, whenever you have imaginaries, they have to come with its conjugate. Since we have 2i, we have to have negative 2i. So there we go. Since we only have 3 solutions, with multiplicity equals to 1, in which each of these only happen one time, our degree equals 3. Remember, the degree is the number of solutions. So what we got to do is set each one of our answers equal to x. That's the first step. Take your zeros, set them equal to x. Now make them equal to 0. Move this number to the other side. So x minus 2 equals 0. X minus 2i equals 0. X plus 2i equals 0. Remember, in order to move the 2, I have to subtract 2 from both sides. To move the 2i, I have to subtract 2i from both sides. So that's what's minus 2i. Since this is a negative, I have to add 2i to both sides. Since these are all equal 0, that means their product, if I multiply each of these together, all of them must equal 0. We're looking for the polynomial, so we have to multiply these together to get rid of the parentheses. Whenever you deal with complex numbers, multiply them first. Remember when we did the rationalizations? If I have a plus bi, and I multiply it by its conjugate, a minus bi, we get a squared minus abi plus abi minus b squared I squared. That's his last terms. The middle terms cancel. And I squared, all it does is change the sign of its coefficient. So if you ever multiply by 2 complex conjugates, then you always get with whatever their base, the numbers are, plus each other. So I get these two, x squared plus 2 squared. It's a times b, a squared, b squared, with a plus between there. Remember, the i's disappear because we change the sign. So that becomes x minus 2, x squared, 2 squared is 4. Positive, positive is positive. 1x times x squared is x cubed. Positive times positive is positive. 4 times x is 4x. Negative times positive is negative. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. Negative times positive is negative. 2 times 4 is 8. Put them in decreasing order of exponents, of degrees. And there's my polynomial. So it's x cubed, negative 2x squared, plus 4x minus 8. Remember, it's a cubic equation because we only have 3 solutions. It's degree 3. So it's x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x minus 8. Let's see what the answer question wants. X cubed minus what's in front of x squared? It's minus already, so it's a 2. Plus what's in front of the x? Plus 4. Minus 8. Minus 8. Alright, so that's the first 2. Let's look at the next one. Find all possible rational zeros of the function. Remember, rational zeros. Rational zeros, oops, I'm sorry. Find all rational zeros. Rational zeros is P over Q. That's plus or minus. So it's the factors of the 4 over the factors of the 19. Alright, so let's look at this. It looks like f of x equals 19x to the 6th minus 6x cubed minus 20x squared plus 14x plus 4. This is Q, and this is P. So it's, or basically it's the top divided by the last divided by the first. So it's plus or minus 4 over the factors of 19. We're looking for the factors. So the factors of 4, 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. Those are the factors. And they're plus or minus of each one. And on the bottom, we have the factors of 19, which is 1 and 19. We have 3 on top, 2 on the bottom, so 3 times 2, we're going to have 6 plus or minuses. So let's look at the first one over that. Let's look at all these over 1. So 1 over 1, 2 over 1, plus or minus, 4 over 1, since that's all 4, so now we do it over 19. So it's plus or minus 1 over 19, then 2 over 19, and then 4 over 19. They're all plus or minus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 times 2 is 6. So we narrowed down our possibilities to these answers. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 1 over 19. 2 over 19. 4 over 19. So we have 12 possible answers. There's 2 there, 2, 2, 2, 2. So 2 times 6, there's 12 possible answers. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, at least. So it has to be B. So question 4. Find the rational zeros and then the other zeros of the polynomial function. That is, solve it. We have to find all the factors. We have to find all the solutions. Factor into linear factors. So what that means is once we do the rational zeros, we have to test them. So our function is x cubed plus 3x squared minus 11x minus 33. Let's first use Descartes' rule of signs. Let's look at the number of positives and negative answers. So Descartes' rule of signs says, let's first take it as is. And check this sign changes. Positive to positive, nothing. Positive to negative, that's one sign change. Negative to negative, that's not a sign change. So since it's only one, we're going to have one positive answer. So in other words, once we find that positive answer, we don't have to do any more positive checks. To find the number of negatives, we change the sign of x. Negative x cubed plus 3 negative x squared negative 11 minus x minus 33. So, because this is an odd exponent, and that's negative, it's going to become negative. If it's a negative raised to an even, the negative sign disappears. So if there's a negative inside parentheses and it's raised to an odd number, that negative comes out in front. If there's a negative number raised to a positive number, that negative just disappears. So this is raised to the first power. So that negative goes in front, becomes a plus. So it's plus 11x minus 33. So we have one sign change, no sign change, two sign changes. Oh, that's another one. So we have a total of we have a total of 2. That's one sign change, that's not, and that's 1. So 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 2 sign changes. So we can have, remember, also, that's 2 sign changes or 0. Because wherever we start off with, we have to start from there and subtract 2 until we get to 0. So we know we have maybe 2 negatives and 1 positive. So knowing that, that's 3. So that's a good start. If we have no negatives, that means we could, if the number of negatives is 0, then we have to have 2 complex numbers. Those are imaginaries, i's. Because together we have to have 3 answers total. So check. We have to first find our rational zeros. Plus or minus p over q. So it's plus or minus 33 over 1. Remember, this is p, and that's q. So the factors of 33 are 1, 3, 11, and 33. 33 times 1, 11 times 3. All those equal 33 over 1. So these are my rational answers, or possible answers. We have 4 possibilities, and they're both either plus or minus. We have 8 to choose from. So we check. Let's try positive 1. Remember, our equation is x cubed plus 3x squared minus 11x minus 33. So we only put the coefficients here. 1, 3, negative 11, negative 33. This is x cubed, x squared, x, and constant. Make sure, because if we're missing one, I have to put a 0 there. Since we start off with x cubed, we have to have each x value. Bring the first one down. That begins 1 times 1 equals 1. Add those. 3 plus 1 is 4. Multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Add. 4 minus 11 is negative 7. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. So because this is not 0, that's not a solution. Let's try negative 1. 1, 3, negative 11, negative 33. Bring down the first one. Negative 1 times 1 equals negative 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Add those. Negative 11 plus negative 2 is negative 13. Negative 1 times negative 13 is positive 13. So answer is negative. 33 minus 13 is 0, is 20. That's not 0, so negative 1 is not the answer. Let's try the next one. Positive 3. Our coefficients are 1, 3, negative 11, negative 33. Bring down the first one. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus, add those, you get 6. Multiply. 3 times 6 equals 18. Add these. 18 minus 11 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Since 33 is bigger, the answer is negative. We get 12. So 3 is not the factor. Let's try negative 3. 1, 3, negative 11, negative 33. Bring down the first one, we get 1. multiply. Negative 3 times 1 equals negative 3. Add those. 3 minus 3 is 0. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. Add them. Negative 11 plus 0 is negative 11. Negative times negative is a positive. 3 times 11 is 33. So, negative 3 is our solution. Since the negative 3 solution, that means x plus 3 is a factor. Since we found a 0, we don't have to use this one anymore. We now use this polynomial. Since the first term was x cubed, that means this one is x squared. That's the x, and that's a constant. So it's x squared minus 11. Since it's only two terms, we can set that equals 0. X squared equals 11. Square root both sides, so we have x equals plus or minus square root of 11. So our solutions are this. Let me show you how I got those. We know that negative 3 is a 0. We know that positive square root of 11 is 0. And negative square root of 11 is 0. That's what these found out. We have negative 3, that's a 0. And x, so this has 1 minus x, 1 minus 11. So x squared minus 11 equals 0. Add 11 to both sides. X squared equals 11. Square root both sides. X equals plus or minus the square root of 11. Which means there's one positive and one negative. So let's look at the answer choices. Remember, our zeros were negative 3, square root of 11, negative square root of 11. There's only one rational 0. There's only rational zeros? No, this is our radicals. So it's not A. There's only one rational, so it's negative 3, and the other zeros. Yeah, so this one says there are no rationals. There's one, so that can be it. The factorization into linear terms, it's x opposite sign. So it's instead of negative 3, it's positive 3. Instead of positive radical 11, it's minus radical 11. Instead of negative radical 11, it's plus radical 11. Those are the factors. And the last one. Same type of things. Here's our polynomial. Find the rational zeros, and then factor them. Question 5. The function is x cubed minus 73x plus 72. Find the rational zeros. P over Q. It's positive negative 72 over positive negative 1. So, now let's look at the factors. The factors of 1 is just 1. 72. That could be 1 times 72, 2 times 36, 3 times 24, 4 times 18, not 5, 6 times 12, not 7, 8, 8 times 9. So I have, my possibilities are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, remove all these, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 8, now back up, plus or minus 9, plus or minus 12, plus or minus 18, plus or minus 24, plus or minus 36, and then plus or minus 72. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 times 2, so this is plus, 1 is minus, it's plus. So we have 24 possible things to choose from. Ooh, let's look at the last one real quick. Remember our solutions. We said we'll have 1 positive and 2 negatives. And sure enough, we had 1 positive and 2 negatives. Positive radical 11, negative radical 11, negative 3. So it works. 1 positive, 2 negative solutions. So let's do the same here. We have x cubed 73x plus 72. Positive to negative, it's 1 sign change. Negative to positive, that's another. So there are 2 sign changes for the positives. There are 2 sign changes or 0. For negative x, we have negative x cubed. It's minus 73 negative x plus 72. It's an odd power is negative, so that negative comes in front, so it's negative x cubed. This is odd, so that one goes in front, so it's positive 73x and plus 72. There's 1 sign change. No, so we only have 1 for the negatives. We will have only 1 negative sign change. I mean, 1 negative answer. And we'll either have 2 positives or no positives. And we'll have either no imaginary or 2 imaginary. So we have to check all of these. Let's try 1. Now remember, in synthetic division, since we have x cubed, we're going to have 3 answers. We start off with x cubed, x squared, x, and constant. The coefficient of x cubed is 1. We have no x squares. we have negative 73 x's, and we have 72 constants. Bring down the first one. 1 times 1 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 73 plus 1 is negative 72. 1 times negative 72 is negative 72. 72. It worked. The first one worked out. So x equals 1 is our first solution. So because of that, we know we'll have one more positive and one more negative answer. But we don't have to worry about that, because since we found a 0, we only have to look at this possibility. 1, negative 72 means that since it was x cubed, the first one, that means the answer is x squared, x, and constant. So we have 1x squared, it's a positive 1, x, and then minus 72. We can go ahead and factor that. X and x. Remember, we're supposed to have one more positive and one negative. And that's exactly what this tells us. Because it's negative, one answer is going to be positive, one answer is going to be negative. So what times what is 72? When you subtract them, you get 1. And the bigger number gets a positive. So it's 9 times 8. Okay, if you have trouble figuring that out, remember we had to do that up here. We found all the factors. Since we're using a minus sign, 72 minus 1 is 71. That's not it. 36 minus 2 is 34. That's not right. Because we're looking for 1 when you subtract them. 24 minus 3 is 21. Nope. 18 minus 4 is 14. Nope. 16 minus 12 is 6. 9 minus 8 equals 1. So these are the numbers. 9 and 8. Set them equal to both to 0. X equals negative 9. X equals 8. So we have 1, 8, negative 9. We have 2 positive answers and 1 negative from the Descartes rule of signs. So we only have rational zeros. It's 1, 8, negative 9. And the factors are x minus 1, x minus 8, x plus 9. Alright, that does it for section 4 homework problems. Good luck.